Among modern Orthodox Jews, the go-to claim is that the servant in Isaiah 53 isn't about a person at all, it's about the nation of Israel. Therefore, it can't be about Jesus. That idea was popularized by the Rabbi Rashi in the 11th century, but the first time it ever appears in history is when a church leader named Origen around 200 AD recalls debating Jews who claimed that the servant was the whole people suffering in exile. Origen's rebuttal still dismantles the national interpretation. He pointed to Isaiah 53:8, which says, "He was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people, he was stricken." Almost everywhere else in Isaiah, the phrase my people refers to Israel. There's one lone exception in Isaiah 19:25, where God calls Egypt my people, but that's a future vision of universal redemption. In every other case, my people in Isaiah means Israel. So if my people in Isaiah 53 is Israel, then the servant can't be. He suffers for Israel's sins, not as Israel. Now, Rabbi Tobias Singer and others like him try to save this by saying that the speakers are Gentile nations, realizing at the end that the Jews suffered for their sins. But the grammar absolutely torpedoes that claim. When God speaks, he says, my servant, and I will. When onlookers speak, they say we and our. Who has believed our report? We esteemed him not. Our transgressions, we are healed. But then the voice changes in verse 7 through 8. He was oppressed and afflicted for the transgression of my people. The only person in Isaiah who ever says my people is God. Singer's reading is also just absolutely morally upside down. If Israel's suffering pays for the Gentile sin, that makes thousands of Jews unwilling scapegoats for their own oppressors. Are we really supposed to believe that the Babylonian captivity brought in global atonement, that by their stripes we are healed? The Hebrew Bible says the exact opposite. When the nations go too far, God judges them. In Isaiah 10:5 through 7, he punishes Assyria for its cruelty. In Jeremiah 30:16, he promises, all those who devour you shall be devoured. So God condemns the nations who cause Israel's torment. Then there's the character of the servant. He had done no violence, and there was no deceit in his mouth. Compare that to Isaiah 6:5, who says, I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell among a people of unclean lips. In Isaiah 64:6, all our deeds are like filthy rags. Israel is clearly depicted as sinful and judged. The servant is righteous and innocent. Now, it should be admitted that Isaiah does often call Israel my servant, but Isaiah also draws a clear line between two different servants, the guilty nation and the righteous individual who restores her. In Isaiah 49:3, the servant is called Israel, but in the very next passages, he's sent to bring Jacob back to him, that Israel might be gathered. You can't bring Israel back if you also are Israel. The servant represents Israel. He's not identical to her. If you look at Isaiah 42, you'll see this contrast. The first servant in verses 1 through 7 is chosen, spirit-filled, and is a light to the nations. The same servant that we see in Isaiah 53. But in verses 18 through 25, God calls another servant who's blind, deaf, and disobedient. Who is blind but my servant? That's the nation. Two different servants. One who has failed and is in need of saving. The other one who is faithful and who does save. Then comes the absolute knockout. In Isaiah 52:13, it says, my servant shall be high and lifted up and greatly exalted. Those exact Hebrew words only apply to Yahweh in Isaiah. Isaiah 6:1 says, I saw the Lord high and lifted up. Isaiah 33:5 and verse 10, the Lord is exalted. Now I will lift myself up. Isaiah 57:15, thus says the one who is high and lifted up, who inhabits eternity. And even Isaiah 2:11 through 17 says, the Lord alone will be exalted in that day. So when 52:13 uses that phrase for the servant, Isaiah is calling him divine. Furthermore, in Isaiah 53:11 through 12, we read, the righteous one, my servant, will justify many and make intercession for the transgressors. But in Isaiah 45:24 through 25, we read, only in the Lord are righteousness and strength. In the Lord, all the offspring of Israel shall be justified. So who is the one who justifies? It's only God. And then in Isaiah 59:16 through 17, there's even more force that's added. It says, he saw that there was no man and was appalled that there was no one to intercede. Then his own arm brought him salvation. The picture is super clear. No human being could stand in the gap. So God himself had to step in. The servant is the arm of the Lord revealed in 53:1, the visible manifestation of Yahweh's own saving and interceding power, accomplishing only what God can do. So for all these reasons, the rabbis are just simply wrong. Only Jesus fits the description, fully God and fully man, the one who stands in the gap, bears our iniquities, and takes the punishment that brings us peace. He's the only one who is the light to the nations. No nation, no prophet, no mere mortal could do what Isaiah 53 describes. Only Jesus. If you find these videos helpful, feel free to check out my Patreon and consider joining. You'll get early access to videos before they come out, be a part of our private group chat, and you'll help me to continue to put out content that spreads and defends the gospel. Thank you so much for watching.